Good afternoon, participants. Welcome to e-course on plant tissue culture. Today we are going to see two different sessions, one on surface sterilization of explant and other is on preparation of stock media and nutrient media, stock solution and nutrient media. So let us first go with the surface sterilization of explant. See, we are going to study three different aspects of explant sterilization. One is the selection of explant. How do you select the explant from the mother plant? Second is how you recognize those contaminants and what are the different types of contaminants which are available or which are generally get induced or get associated with your explants. And what are the chemicals which we used as a sterilizing agent for the explant for different types of explants. Okay, so first we will go for the selection of explant. You always have to make sure that you take actively growing or healthy parts of the plants, okay, which should be used as a explant in tissue culture. If you use from healthy parts of the plant, then you have higher chances of making that particular explant successful in developing a tissue culture protocol. If you take any explant from say stress plants or the part which is generally perform poor, then those parts are going to perform very poor in tissue cultures. Of course, with few exceptions are there. Generally, in some cases, in order to induce one particular morphogenetic response, some explants do keep under continuous light, or they are given a pre-chill treatment. So that kind of a pre-chill treatment is a stress treatment to some of the tissues, but that is sometimes depend upon what kind of a goal you are want to achieve. For example, in somatic embryogenesis, sometimes they use certain stress tissues as a source of explant. But in most of the cases of plant tissue culture, you have to make sure that whatever explant you are using, it is should be from actively growing and healthy parts. Okay, insects or disease free greenhouse or controlled greenhouses can also make your plants partly aseptic, and therefore they are preferred in tissue cultures. Okay, so those plants, if you at all have a seeds and you can grow them instead of growing them on a natural land or a field, if you are able to grow them in the greenhouse, then you are going to get a uniform growth and a vigorous growth, and that vigorous growth plant will have a very good impact on our tissue culture responses. So the physiological status of mother plant definitely influence the tissue culture responses. Then in case of where the auxiliary buds or other explants, they show no or little response. Say for example, in some where you have taken some greenhouse grown explants and they are still showing no response under say Morashige Skoog media along with the BAP concentration or cytopanin concentration. In that case, what you should try again, that you should soak those seeds, surface sterilize them and produce contamination free seedlings either in a clean greenhouse, or you can also develop another best alternative to have a contamination free explant is to develop in vitro raised seedlings. So explants from in vitro raised seedlings are the most juvenile one, and they can respond to your media manipulation to get a desirable results. So these explants will have best results under tissue culture practices. So it is always good to, if at all you have a seeds, then you should always surface sterilize them and inoculate on a half strength MS basal media or a full strength MS basal media, or even on a water agar media. So any of these nutrient media or media combinations will give you a seedling development, and that those seedlings will have a very best responses under for micropropagation, for developing other types of tissue culture protocols. So I'm showing here a explant, just an in vitro raised seedling, and you can take the hypocotyle, you can take the cotyledons. These are the two cotyledons. This portion is hypocotyle, and then sorry, this portion is hypocotyle. So this is epicotyle. So these portions can also give rise to a direct shoot regeneration from these cut portions, as well as these cotyledons also able to give rise to a lot of adventitious shoot formation or root formation or callus formation from these regions. Wherever my laser pointer is moving right now, So once you inoculate this particular explant on MS basal, MS plus 2 4D, you will have lot of bulging from this the corner portion of this explant of these cotyledons, and that bulging will definitely give rise to callus formation from this region. And that callus, if that explant is free from contaminants, then you will have a culture, callus culture. Similarly, sometimes, especially what we found in tomato, that if you inoculate these hypocotyls on a MS basal with 2 milligram per liter DAP plus 0.1 milligram per liter NAA, or sometimes carnitine, on those media formulation, you will have an adventitious shoot formation. So direct shoot formation will arise from this hypocotyl region, a cut portion of this hypocotyl region. So so this is will have a direct organogenesis. If you inoculate this kind of cotyledon on a callus inducing media, you will have callus formation, as well as if you inoculate this axillary or apical bud on a MS plus any cytokinin, then you will have a shoot proliferation, which you can use further for micropropagation protocol. Okay, so developing a in vitro raised seedling will have best results from these explants. Now let's go to the contaminants topic. Now there are various types of contaminants, and some of the common contaminants are dust particle, bacteria, fungi, insects or eggs, or thrips. All the bacteria or fungi associated with the thrips and other minor insects. Now first we'll discuss about bacteria. Bacteria are the most common or frequently occurring contaminants which are present in tissue culture vessels after inoculations, and they usually introduce with the explants, and they may survive after surface sterilization. So this is again, the bacterial contamination is definitely a challenging contaminations because they can come with your explant and they can survive very long period of time in your media if at all they are endophytic. And if they are not endophytic and they are just normally growing bacteria, then they will immediately come after you inoculate the explant. So once you have a explant associated with the bacterial colonies, your explant will not grow further, and therefore that particular test tube will not be of any use. You have to simply discard those tubes where you will have a bacterial contamination, unless your goal is to isolate bacteria from these particular leaf associated explant or explant associated bacteria, and then that's a different objective. Now the bacteria which are commonly found are the Bacillus, Corynebacterium, Enterobacter, Lactobacillus, Pseudomonas, and Xanthomonas. These are the commonly found bacterial contaminants which are found very commonly in first stage of tissue culture, which is surface sterilization of explant. Now these bacteria can be recognized as a ooze because they develop as a circular and colony, and these color of these ooze are basically cream white, pink, yellow. They show very distinct color. That is again another very characteristic feature of these bacterial contaminants. Now as compared to bacteria, since bacteria they generally appear within the 24 to 48 hours, if at all it is a surface associated bacteria, but in case of those bacteria which are endophytic, they can come even after 1 month. So it all depends upon the type of the explant and those type of contaminants. Now fungi, now in that case, if you have a lot of prevalence of endophytic bacteria, then you should use a very minor concentration of antibiotics, but you have to also make sure that antibiotics should not influence the growth of your explant. Again, you can use certain antibacterial compounds as well, but always you have to make sure that they should not influence your explant growth. Another contaminants which is commonly found with the explants are fungi. The entire fungal kingdom is whenever you give them sucrose and agar and all types of nutrient solution, these fungi in fact more invasive inside the explant material. So they can come through the explant from the tools as well as from airborne. So if your laminar airflow hood is not fumigated regularly, then you are going to have some airborne fungi. If your tools are not properly sterilized, if they are rusted, then you will have some contamination, fungal contamination from that as well. And as I told you, if the explant surface sterilization protocol is not optimized, then you will have lots of fungi, lots of fungal growth in your tissue culture vessels. Now these are some of the common fungi are Aspergillus niger, Aspergillus fumigatus, Fusarium, lot of Fusarium species, Penicillium species, and yeast. Yeast is again one of the most commonly occurring contaminants in plant tissue culture. So these are the some of the explant Aspergillus niger. These are the some of the fungal contaminants: Aspergillus niger, Fumigatus, Aspergillus fumigatus, Fusarium, Penicillium, and yeast. These are the some of the common fungi which occurs along with your explants as well as along with the other tools. Now these fungi, they are recognized by their fuzzy appearance and they appear in a distinct color. So they show a lot of mycelial growth on the media as well as on the surface of the explant, and that can easily, it is easily recognized, and one can easily recognize that it is a fungal growth. Now once you have a bacterial or a fungal growth along with your explant, it is very difficult to basically passage that explant on a new media or subculture that explant on a new media. So these two contaminants are really tough to handle, but they can be eventually, we can eventually get rid of these two contaminations. In India, as I told you, that we have three different seasons. One is summer, rainy, and winter. And if at all your plant, if you're working with the trees or if you're working with the shrubs and if you're working with the say any herbaceous plant or medicinal plant, and you want to initiate surface sterilization of explant, and you want to initiate it from say auxiliary buds of mother plant, then summer is the best season to initiate tissue culture or to initiate true surface sterilization of explant, mainly because the amount of fungal spores which are present and their survivability is always very low in summer season, and the rainy season is the most favorable season to have a fungal contamination, to have a very large number of fungal contaminations. So during, I have seen this seasonal impact of surface sterilizations. There is a lot of seasonal effect on surface sterilization. Winter season do have a very limited contamination, but as I told you that in winter also sometimes you can have a reasonably intermediate level of contamination. So the percent fungal contamination and percent bacterial contamination is generally high in first two seasons, but it is very low in summer season. So I request, or I in fact from this platform I request all my students and participants that you should, if at all you want to initiate a new tissue culture protocol, then I think it is better to develop it from develop during the summer season. Though summer season is a harsh season in India, I think it is one of the best season to develop tissue culture protocol. At least the first two stages of tissue culture protocol: surface sterilization and shoot initiation. Of course, all these fungi and bacteria, they will reduce the growth rate of your explant, and they will retard the rooting, and they will also cause a plant death. It will also cause a explant death. So during subculturing also you might get contamination. It is not necessary that you will get contamination both bacterial and fungal only when you are inoculating the explant. After explant is, let's say you are not getting any contamination on explant, and explant started showing you adventitious shoot formation. Now when you subculture those adventitious shoots, or when you subculture the callus, also in a callus, if your tools or if your laminar hood is not properly maintained, then there is a likely chances that your callus will also get contaminated because of bacteria or because of fungi. So there could be these contaminants can come at any stage of plant tissue culture. Remember that. So therefore meticulous planning, meticulous cleaning, and continuous observation is a key feature of successful plant tissue culture. Okay, and again learn from various experiences. I always have a lot of interactions with the those are well established plant tissue culturists. Take an opinion from them, ask them questions, and solve your problems if at all that particular problem is very unique. Now tissue cultures, they can be contaminated at any stage of tissue culture processing. The endogenous bacteria as well as some certain endogenous fungi, which we call endophytic fungi, endophytic bacteria. These are difficult to control, and since they do not cause or show any visible symptoms in the contaminated culture, and therefore they are difficult, but they will emerge out after 3 months, 6 months, or after a long period of incubation. And therefore, to control these bacteria, you can use during that particular period of stage of tissue culture some certain milder or very low concentration of antibiotics or combination of antibiotics, so that you will get rid of those endophytic bacterial contamination as well as endophytic fungal contaminations. But as I said, the sources of these contaminants are usually difficult to determine. Where it is coming from, whether it is coming from the surface, whether it is coming from inside the surface, or whether it is coming from any other portion of the explant or portion of that particular plant inside the tissue culture is very difficult to trace out. So that's why this is bit difficult to work, but it is possible to manage it as well if you meticulously plan and meticulously work on that particular problem. Okay, bacteria which contaminate from these plant cultures may originate from the explant, laboratory environment, operator, mites, and thrips, which are sometimes present during rainy seasons or in any other ineffective sterilization technique. So the operators means the one who is working there, the students and participant, whoever is working with the tissue culture practices, he has to clean his hands with some kind of a soap all times. He should wear a good quality apron, and if at all he is sick, or let's say if he's came from a dusty environment, then he should not work in a laminar hood. Let's say you went in the field and there was a lot of dust or wind and all that, then you are going to carry all those spores along with you, and they will fall in your surfaces and you will have contamination. If your explant has lots of mites and thrips, if it is a diseased explant, then you will have a problem. Now sometimes mites and thrips are also present in a old portion of the buildings, and they will also cause a lot of problem in your contamination. Explant is definitely one of the largest source of contamination. So if you effectively surface sterilize the explant by using effective techniques, then you will not have these contaminations. And I have done this many times. I nowadays do not get a lot of contamination. This summer season I have used it very meticulously with a lot of meticulous planning, and we got almost 10% of contamination, and later on after subculturing we have no contamination in our culture. So that is the technique. So you always have to make sure you have to work on the protocol, and that protocol need to be optimized. It need to be trial and error methods should be used. A lot of changes should be made. A lot of manipulation has to be done in your sterilization protocol to get rid of bacteria and fungi. And therefore every steps of plant tissue culture processes should be carefully performed in order to prevent contamination. So if you are preparing media, if you are preparing stock solutions, if you are preparing your explant for surface sterilization, every step has to be done very carefully. And these steps are basically handling of stock plant, handling of mother plant, basically type of explant which are used, then handling of explant, media preparation, subculturing, incubation, storage of sterile culture vessels, media, and plant culture. So all these different types and different aspects of stages of tissue cultures has to maintain meticulously, and you will have cultures which are completely free from bacteria and fungi forever. Like I have seen lots of tissue culture labs which can maintain these plant tissue culture without any contamination for many years. So it is possible to do it. It is possible to get contamination free plant tissue cultures protocols from any lab which is just beginning in the plant tissue culture area. So during subculturing also, plant culture contaminants may be reduced by controlling the lab cleanly atmosphere, the air source, and by strict training of operators in aseptic techniques. So when you start subculturing your tissue culture plants, either it is a callus formation, either it is a somatic embryogenesis, or either it is a elongated shoots which you want to put it on a new media, by chopping into pieces and inoculating. All that subculturing activity has to be done in a clean laboratory in a air source. That clearly mean that your laminar airflow hood has to be fumigated once in a probably month. Of course, if you are getting contamination or if you are thinking that your laminar airflow hood is old enough, then you should fumigate it frequently. And then a strict training of the operator. Now when you handle all that material inside that laminar airflow hood, your handling should be you should minimize your handling. You should not passing your hand on the surface of the explant or from the over the surface of the explant. So handling of the tissue culture or inoculation practices is very critical, and the faster you do it, the cleaner you do it, you are going to have a lesser chances of contamination. Other major cause of microbial contamination is insufficient sterilization of explant, that I have already discussed. Growth media as well. If you are autoclaving procedure, if you autoclave, sometimes students take as I told you, not students, many people take a shortcut, or if at all they want to go home early, they will finish that autoclave timing in a very short period of time. Within the 5 minutes or 10 minutes, they will think, okay, what would happen? It will not have any contamination. But sometimes if you lower down your sterilization time, autoclaving timing, then you are going to have a chances of contamination as well. Again, the water which is inside the tissue autoclave has to be changed quite frequently, because if you use same water for boiling or by building the pressure, there are chances that that water will have certain temperature resistant bacteria or spores, and they might come into your media. If at all they come, your media will get contaminated. Working tools and personal hands, these are again a larger source of contamination, and therefore they should be clean. And personal hands, basically the hands should be washed regularly, and then work in a laminar airflow. So these are the contaminations. As you can show, this is the bacterial contamination. You can see in this Petri plate, these two Petri plate, you can see ooze-like structures. These are very large colonies. They are not colonies, they are plate formation, a mat formation like structures, which are of yellow, pink, white, and many others. And you can see in this explant, just below the explant, at the basal portion, you will see a lot of contamination. So most of the bacteria, they grow on the surface of these agar media, but sometimes you will get certain bacteria which are growing, forming a cloud-like structure inside this agar. And if you see the cloud-like structures, you have to remember that is most likely to be a bacterial contamination. Okay, so this is a plate showing a bacterial contamination. Then this is a plate which is showing a fungal contamination, fungal plus bacterial. This is all fungal, this is all bacterial contamination. But you can see that along with this fungal, you can see this, along with this bacterial, you can see the fungal contamination. And because of that, you can see the situation of that particular explant. If it is callus or say axillary bud, that axillary bud is surrounded by such a large prevalence of fungal growth or bacterial growth, it will not grow. It will simply desiccate and die eventually. So these contaminants will not support the growth of the explant or that particular tissue, and therefore desiccate eventually. So you have to minimize these bacterial contaminations. Now let's see the chemicals which are used as a sterilizing agents for the explants. Lots of explant, there are various chemicals which are used. Once the explant which is obtained from the plant, once you cut them into small pieces, they must be washed with a mild soapy detergent. So this is generally a very common practices if you are handling tobacco, tomato, or any kind of a say herbaceous plant which is easy to develop under tissue culture practices. So under soapy detergent, you can basically remove lots of dust particles and say any kind of fungal spores which are present on the surface, they will get rid of. So some herbaceous plant material may not require this step. So sometimes you may not require this step. It depends upon the plant material. If it is a greenhouse grown plant, then you will not have that much of dust or say and for in vitro raised seedling, you don't have to surface sterilize. Again, this is some students will take it in a misconception way. that every plant material, whenever you use explant, you have to surface sterilize. No, after the seeds you have to surface sterilize, but once you get in vitro raised seedlings, there is no surface sterilization procedure which is needed. You just have to chop that particular entire seedling on a petri plate and inoculate that explant directly on a tissue culture media. But if at all you are developing the in vitro raised seeds, then seeds has to be surface sterilized. Here, if you are taking from a greenhouse grown plant, axillary bud, apical bud, internode portion, root pieces, all those need to be surface sterilized. Now in woody shrubs and trees, you have to wash with the soapy water or mild detergent very thoroughly, because they generally have reasonably large number of dust particles and even the fungal material as well. Now you should be rinse under running tap water after that for 10 minutes and then submerge into a disinfectant under sterile conditions. So all the surfaces of rectum must be in contact with the sterilant. For example, if you are using a sodium hypochlorite solution, you are using mercury chloride solution, you are using hydrogen peroxide or any kind of a sterilizing agent, your explant has to be completely submerged, and therefore best way to sterilize is to have a 250 ml conical flask, have your solution somewhere around 100 to 50 ml sterilizing solution inside that autoclave conical flask, and when you put explants like say axillary bud or apical bud or internode, you shape them vigorously. So your hand should be moved very fast with a reasonable speed, and therefore those explants should get mixed extensively and with your sterilizing agents, because sometimes the crevices or the ridges the furrows which are present in the axillary bud on the surfaces of the explant, because some surfaces will have lots of root hairs and many other outer surface structures. They are not smooth, they are hairy. Now if your explant is hairy, that's really a challenge, because the hairy portion creates a lots of air spaces, and because of that sometimes the sterilizing agent will not reach to the surface of the explant, and despite giving a very strong sterilizing treatment, sometimes that particular explant will show a lot of fungal or bacterial growth. If you have hairs which are generally present in a solanaceous member, so if you are using say tomato explants, then that will have a lot of hairs on the surface, and therefore you have to make sure that you treat that particular explant. Sometimes even vacuum infiltration of that particular sterilizing agent is also good. If you have a vacuum pump inside the laminar hood, then that is in fact the best way to sterilize the explant, because it will remove all the air bubbles which are on the surfaces of the explant, and your explant will have 100% contact of sterilant. Now that timing of sterilization has to be also optimized. So after that particular say 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes of sterilization time, your sterilant should be decanted, and the explant should be washed at least 3 times or 5 times or sometimes even more with the sterile distilled water. So at the end you need to wash that particular explant extensively, and then to get rid of basically sterilant. If you keep in a sterilant and then immediately inoculate, your your explant will have exposure of sterilant, and therefore because of that sterilant there will be a toxicity effect and your explant will eventually die, and that do happen if you give insufficient washing of sterile distilled water. So if you are not comfortable, I think you should wash your explant at least 5 times. That is my best suggestion, because with the sometimes 3 times washing also, some of the sterilants do not simply get rid of, and they will create a toxicity effect to your explant. So various surface sterilization protocol need to be optimized with your explant. As I said, the explant type will vary, and therefore surface sterilization protocol also will vary. These are the chemicals which are used for as a sterilizing agent. Or you can see sodium hypochlorite, which is we call bleach powder or bleach solution, that is plentifully available. You can take 1 to 1.4% weight by volume. You can take 3 to 5% also in some cases, and you can treat that particular sterilizing incubation time by shaking it vigorously from 5 minutes to 30 minutes. In case of hydrogen peroxide, you can take 10 to 12%. and you can use it for 5 to 15 minutes. Hydrogen peroxide sometimes also cause serious damage to the explant. So this is, although utilized by many people, I have never used it. I have used sodium hypochlorite, mercury chloride, and calcium hypochlorite solution. These are the three. Mercury chloride is not good because it has mercury and you don't want to pollute your basins and the institutional drainage system, and therefore sodium hypochlorite is the best choice, at least in India, which is cheaply available. It is not expensive at all. It is available in any grocery shop. So bleach powder is anytime workable. Calcium hypochlorite, if you have, then you can use it 9 to 12%. The incubation period is also 5 to 30%. Silver nitrate also 1%, you can use it. Mercury chloride is very low, you have to use it 0.01% to 1%, and also incubation time is reasonably low. Bromine water is also used in case, but these bromine water, mercury chloride, silver nitrate, and hydrogen peroxide, these I have used by many people, but since they are comfortable handling the concentration, their protocols are heavily optimized. But if you are beginners, and at least in India, I think the best choice I would say sodium hypochlorite treatment. If you have a calcium hypochlorite, that is also good. But these two sterilizing agent, they work really well for the explant sterilization, at least in India. Now this is a protocol which we have to follow for surface sterilization. Now I'll go one by one. See, the best choice is if you have say axillary buds or apical buds, or let's say leaf disc or internode explants. First you take a leaf pieces. Either you can take the entire leaf. Internodes, you have to chop internodal regions. If you are taking axillary bud, then you take the axillary bud or apical bud. Like this, you should take typically in a single conical flask you should have 20 to 25, but not more than that, not more than that. So 20 to 25 explant should be better. And these explant, once you put it in a water, I would recommend that along with few drops of detergent, either twin 20 or twin 80 or any liquid detergent, mild detergent, you should also treat that particular explant with the broad spectrum fungicides, which are plentifully available in our agriculture shops or hybrid seed company shops or any grocery shops. Now these for example, Bavistin, which is carbendazime, is a very broad spectrum fungicides. And if you take 0.1% to 1% of Bavistin powder and then you mix it in your solution which has mild detergent, then and you shake it vigorously. If you have a shaker, then that is really good because you can keep under shaking condition for next 15 minutes, 10 minutes or 1 hour or half an hour. And that kind of a first step of sterilization sometimes work very effectively for getting rid of fungal growth. Now then you, after say let's say 20 minutes of Bavistin treatment, you remove that particular Bavistin solution. So after these particular steps, the rest of all the material should be inside your laminar fluid. For example, media, sterile distilled water, 70% ethanol solution, say 5% sodium hypochlorite solution, say sterile distilled water, a clean beaker, empty beaker, forceps, blade holder, arrowhead, then Bunsen burner or flame, the burner or that glass bead sterilizer. All these things has to be first arranged inside the laminar hood. You close the laminar hood and then you put it for UV at least for 5 minutes, and then you close the UV and put it your flow and normal light on. Now when you are doing this, you have to do this activity simultaneously, that you give a mild detergent treatment, you treat with the Bavistin solution. If your explant is very delicate, then don't treat with the Bavistin solution because it will damage. Bavistin is bit for those explants which are reasonably rigid and have a good xylem tissue or parenchymatous tissue, and they are solid. If the tissue is solid, then use the Bavistin. If tissue is very delicate, very thin, then don't use it. Now after treating it, then you take that particular flask inside the laminar hood. Now that flask is basically outside the laminar hood, so it is might have some spores or some surfaces which are unclean. So when you take it inside, first add a water, rinse the solution, pour the entire Bavistine solution or that soapy water, and immediately transfer all those explant in a new autoclave empty conical flask. Okay, because and remove that the outsider say conical flask and keep it outside. Now from here everything is basically whatever chemicals you are using, whatever solutions you are using, whatever glassware you are using, all are completely sterile, and therefore you rinse with one more time with a sterile distilled water. Then you should, instead of trimming them, you should first treat with the 70% ethanol for 30 seconds. Now this surface sterilizing, this disinfectant is basically just remove if at all there are bacterial spores. So ethanol works very efficiently with the bacterial and fungal spores, but it in order to kill the bacteria, ethanol is very efficient. So after that, again rinse with a sterile distilled water. Then you can give the, although not 20% but lesser than that, Clorox or sodium hypochlorite solution, and for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, and swirl the beaker. That means shake the beaker or swirl the beaker at least for the next 20 minutes. Then decant the Clorox and rinse 3 to 5 times with the sterile distilled water, and then after washing them thoroughly with the sterile distilled water, you should take out that explant in a petri plate. The petri plate should have a blotting paper or let's say tissue paper, because there will be a lot of water on the surface of the explant, and sometimes that water also create although we assume that the explants are 100% contamination free, that water sometimes also gives a kind of a random bacterial contaminations which come along with that explant, or which is come on along with the with that water. So best way is just semi dry the explant, not completely, don't dry it completely, but semi dry it and immediately inoculate in a test tube. And after inoculation, you keep those cultures in a incubation facility, that is the culture room. And once you get you have to observe those explants every after 3 days, because generally within the 24 out of 48 hours you will have bacterial contamination, if at all. If you don't see any oozing out or any kind of a colony, that clearly means you don't have a bacterial contamination which is coming out of that explant. If you're not seeing any kind of a mycelial like growth on the explant surface on them, that means your explant do not have any contamination, your explant is contamination free. Now after incubating in next 3 weeks in a tissue in a culture practices, you will see responses, and these responses will vary depend upon the type of the explant. It will give 80% should proliferation, sometimes 20%, sometimes no response as well. It can happen that even after sterilization, if your media formulation and your hormonal formulation, if it is not optimum enough to create a response, a morphogenetic response, the explant will not show any kind of a growth. That could happen. But as I told you that with the herbaceous plant, especially with the Solanaceae family, most of the explant do show some kind of a responses. So if you are beginner, start your tissue culture protocol with the Solanaceae family, and you will have a callus formation or axillary bud formation and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's about the sterilizing agents. So with that, I will stop here. If you have any questions, we will have discussion on that on a live session. Thank you.